talk about our survey findings. Spoiler alert, we weren't that successful, but we are trying to show you the process of what we did. Okay, so first, first, we want to talk about how we reached out to people, who we asked, and the results of our efforts. So in general, we contacted over 50 people and more working for Samsung via LinkedIn. And we focused mostly on managers, also a lot of international people because we were interested in cultural diversity, but also normal office workers that we found through our search. The problem was we had no connections to Samsung workers. So we did try to search for alumni, but that wasn't very successful, mainly because LinkedIn basically required us to have a higher subscriptions to see that. So it was very hard to find people we had actually connections to. So other than that, we tried to find out more about the person's interests first. One example was Mr. Tully that you recommended to us. He sadly hasn't written us back, but for example, he shared an article about how Samsung had been the best employer named by Forbes. So we tried to connect with him on this basis that we wanted to find out more how the best employer manages cultural diversity. Yeah, that was the main try that we did. And we did not introduce ourselves as students, but rather as a part of a small specialized research team from Kenyon University with PhD and MBA specialists employed. And we also explained that we had many valuable research papers from basically the best sources in the world, and that would be happy to share them if they were willing to work with us. Okay, so as I already said, we tried to contact them mainly over LinkedIn. We did try to link with them directly and also send them a personalized invite to further greet them and explain our request. And if possible, sometimes you can also send direct messages. We also did that to longer explain our goals, but many of them sadly had their messages closed. So we did our best and even created a premium account to reach out to more people, but sadly to not much avail. Okay, so what were some challenges that we faced? Many accounts from people working at Samsung were not available for us because we didn't have a high enough description, so we weren't even able to look at their profiles. And we also had a hard time finding a mail address. So we tried to contact we tried to contact Samsung basically outside of LinkedIn as well, but even that was quite hard for us. We tried to search in the internet and also on Samsung's official site, and we did send them some emails, but they also didn't reply to us, sadly. Okay. So who did we ask? We have some examples. We have one more page. These are not all the people, but we just wanted to show that we tried our best. And yeah, one example was Paul Hesse. Like I said, sadly, we didn't reach him, but we also tried very late. Boninam, we reached him. He was very kind and wrote us back some suggestions. Sadly, he didn't answer our questions, but he still helped us a lot, and I'll talk about that later. Here is the other slide. As you can see, we tried many different Samsung brands as well, Samsung Electronics, Samsung Biologics, to get people from various areas. Yeah. Okay, here's also the proof that we tried to reach the analyst relations team. Once again, I'm not even sure if they were like the right department for us, but it was so hard to find email addresses that we just tried whatever we could do. And yeah, for the results of our efforts, sadly, over the course of 2 weeks, we're not really successful in getting any answers. The reason were, well, either they did not react at all to our message, or they looked at our profile and then chose not to answer our message. And even the official email didn't get any response. So we did try hard, but maybe it would have been better if he started even sooner to have more time to reach out to even more people. Even though we didn't get any messages, we did gain something from trying to connect to people. We did learn that connections and a common ground to communicate are very important. And we also learned that we really need to polish our profile and grow our network to seem more professional in the future. And well, maybe also that you need to be really persistent and start planning your future soon. And lastly, we made to gain valuable connections that might help us in the future. So that was really nice for us. Okay, lastly, we have the suggestions that Mr. Nam kindly shared with us. So for once, he suggested that we should do research data collections, as survey are a convenient way to collect specific data points to support or debunk the core of our thesis. And he also told us that basically asking professionals to answer plain questions wouldn't be very successful. And he instead suggested that we should maybe conduct interviews in the future that are well structured in order to collect the testimonials data that we needed. So I think this is a good point. I really do think that it's better to reach out to people personally than just sending them the message or the questions that we tried. Also, he said that our suggestions were good, but he didn't really understand the core part of our thesis. I think this was probably a mistake from our side. We did explain that we wanted to search about management or managing cultural diversity, but we didn't really further explain that we wanted to basically create an outline for Samsung, what they could do better. So he really said that we should broaden, or that our research was too broad and that we should focus more on what we really want to search. So I think this was a good point for us to revise and change in the future. And lastly, he also suggested SurveyMonkey, which I found really interesting. And he basically said that a lot of people are willing to share their experience with young people, but we need to contact them in a way that, well, gives them joy and reaches or like gives them a break from their usual day and their daily routine. And yeah, that we should basically ask them this way and not just write answers. So this was what we gained from our research. Like I said, sadly, we didn't get any answers. We did think about how we should gain a conclusion for our research project in the end. And either we try further to contact people or we will rely on the data that we got from our literature research. So yeah, we're still thinking about what would be the better way. Okay, thank you so much. That was it for us.
Thank you very much. I would like to start and get the class to analyze what you have just said. So, Pia, can you check some of your classmates and get them to comment on what you have just said?
Yeah, maybe we'll look back. I don't know if you've been here from the start. Would you have any comments for us? Or did you understand what we're trying to say?
Yes, I'm so exciting for your what can I say, results, because you have contacted a lot of well-known persons for your project.
Compliments are nice, but you are an executive, a specialist. Ulrich, what are some critiques of what she has just done? What are some possible changes?
As she already mentioned, I think she have to present and introduce their project very well to understand, to get exact question for her project, I think.
Maybe someone else. Maybe
No.
I think just Jongo is not in our group, so maybe you have some comments.
Well, I would say instead of critics, I really agree about what she said about like getting an interview instead of asking sharing the questionnaires from the internet, because I had a hard time for getting the response from the survey, but most of them, well, everyone did not reply from that. But from my experience from other classes, I did a survey for the statistics class, and I just went to the downtown, the middle of the downtown, and did a survey for like 3 days, because the people cannot easily say no. If I have a paper in my hand, and if I reach them like politely and ask them for the doing the survey, they cannot easily reject about it. So I really agree that well, it will be pretty hard during the pandemic seasons to reach everyone like face to face, but it'll be more effective to the survey face like in an interview way or face to face, instead of doing like instead of sharing the link on the network.
East Asia, yes, face to face has a very strong value in East Asia, more so than in Europe, more so than North America. Why? Because it's so group oriented, right? You have to be part of the group. And if you're online or just mailing regular letters, that's not really personal. That's not really in the group, even if you are in the group. So being face to face, almost touching, is very important. Yes, that's one point. Please continue.
I think all the other people are in my group, so
Are you ready for some comments from me, or is there somebody else in your group that could possibly analyze what you did and how it could possibly go better next time?
I mean, maybe my group wants to step up.
To help you, I can give points to Pia, but maybe I can give a little bit of points to Jong-ho, but if I don't hear from other people, it's hard to give points to anybody else. Does that help? If you want points, be a leader, be proactive, step up. Yes, talk. I've counted to 5. I didn't hear anybody else, so I can't give many other points to the other group members. So I'd like to just point out a few things that I heard from Pia herself. I believe it was a quote. I reached out to this department, even though I wasn't sure if they were the right ones to contact. What can you say about that?
Yeah,
How are you supposed to do almost anything successfully? Joe, he won because he's such a big, scary guy. When I was raised, people said a phrase very popularly. It was either use your brains or use your brawn, which means your muscle. So Joe used the muscle. He stood in front of people and he made them talk because they couldn't get around him. Maybe he's such a scary guy. But using the brains part of it, can you analyze more of that?
Yeah, I mean, I should have done better research, but my problem was that on the site, they had a few contact lists, and you could either choose if you were someone who wanted to buy their products or if you were another company that wanted to work with them. And the last one was the industry analytics department. So I thought maybe we belong more to the industry analytics, but I wasn't completely sure. So yeah, that was something that I should have probably researched more, but
Exactly. So if you don't know who you're going to be talking to, then your level, if you are 100% sure, you know you need to talk to this guy and you know you can help him because of exactly this, there's closer to 100% chance of you getting success. If you don't know who you're supposed to talk to, and more especially, that means you don't know how you can add value to them, your chance of success is going to be much lower. So you definitely, especially in East Asia, you need to know exactly who you're targeting, exactly what is the specialization, and exactly what is the value you're going to give to them. If there's 2 different departments or 3 different departments and you are not really decided, that shows, you know, it's okay for our class. But when you go out in the real world, if you're trying to get money from it, for example, if it's your job, you really will have much better results knowing exactly who it is before you meet and know exactly what that person wants before you meet and have partial parts of what that person wants before you meet so that you can give him like a custom present for them. Mutual benefit. So in North America, you're just thinking maybe the same as in Europe, the idea that if I have a product, any person can be the buyer. Well, it doesn't work that way very much in East Asia. In East Asia, it's not a reason-based society, it is a relation-based society. So even if you have the best product, many times you will not be able to sell it to the correct customer. Sometimes you won't even be able to buy it from suppliers unless you have the correct relationship. Who controls the relationships in both Korea and Japan? Usually the top family members. So start by going through family connections. If you do have family connections, that is best. Blood in Korea is strongest. It's a little bit more open in Japan. You're allowed to be adopted, or if you're working significantly for a company for a long time and then prove your loyalty, then you can be accepted as family. That's good. Otherwise, you have a struggle. You need to have other connections. School connections is good. But I hear and I understand that at some universities, it's very hard to get the school lists. Pia, in your school in Germany, do you know how to contact other people that went through the school?
Yes, because we have a specialized mail system where you can search for people. We had to agree to that, but it's a lot easier to reach out to people. So
right. Those types of things, you should know about those types of things. Just like in China, there are informal societies, like in North America, we call it the Chamber of Commerce. Those Chamber of Commerce, their main value is they have that list of emails. They have that phone book, or in North America, we call it the white pages or the yellow pages, a list of names, a list of addresses, a list of contacts. That is super valuable, and it's controlled more and more. And it's so much controlled in Korea that some people aren't sharing it very much. So you need to dig hard. Part of the responsibility for every program is that each department must be able to introduce you to something. And this actual week, the week 9 is the practicum week. A lot of departments have the alumni coming in and talking to them. And so if you talk to the alumni, if you talk to your university departments this week, the office management should be able to introduce you to several different potential people working in companies. That's one thing. Is that understood?
yes, thank you.
The next thing, of course, you don't need to worry too much in my class. You're showing me a lot of proactivity. That's very good. But it was your words that were very good. You said plan sooner. Absolutely. Planning is very, very important. Surprisingly, they don't do a lot of planning like they do in North America, in East Asia. In East Asia, you will have a lot more cases of small companies and individual people starting businesses, even with many hundreds of millions of dollars, where you might hear people say ready, fire, aim, versus in North America, it's supposed to be ready, aim, fire. So you're supposed to be planning a lot in advance. Versus here, you may have people that think there's a good idea, and then they're going to start investing in and develop a business the next day or the next week without a lot of planning. But the higher you go in companies, the more successful corporations, they have incredible planning. They'll have huge planning departments. They'll have war rooms. I worked with Samsung. I worked with the Applied Materials, even higher than Samsung. They have huge conference rooms with confidential, top secret information on the walls that you're supposed to meet in every week and add to. Some of that stuff we get by interviewing. We will work with HR and interview somebody from the competitor just to ask that person confidential details. So having that plans, it is very important. The last thing I want everybody to know, there's going to be several other people supposedly presenting. I haven't heard from you. Tom, have you heard or seen anybody show signs that they wanted to present today? Otherwise, I'm going to keep giving more tips. No? So
I will present. I can present.
Okay, make sure your screen's ready to start presenting. The next thing I want to hear from you, Jungho, and Pia, and everybody, is what is your value? If you're going to be presenting or surveying somebody, going up talking to somebody, trust me, if you just walk up to a company and say, hi, I want a job, here's my resume, if you don't have something to give them, if you don't have a better statement than I just want a job, you're not going to get the job. So, Pia, you don't need to tell me now, but before the final presentation, have 1 or 2 sentences that are most valuable. What are you teaching the world? When you walk up to the executive, what is that valuable thing that they should appreciate learning? And if you've taught them something, you can teach them more if they do this survey. That type of thing. Mutual benefit is very important. So, Jungho, what is your first sentence? What are you going to be able to teach the world?
Well, first sentence will be manage your LinkedIn profile really well.
Okay, that's one part of it. The other part is if you don't have that, if you want to do the sales or the bronze side, there are some tricks for that. For example, Pia, you met some high-level executives, so congratulations, you met them. You can teach our class how did you meet them. But the other thing is, when you did meet them, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you were just asking them a lot of questions. So you were taking a lot of time. Your questions seem like I hear we're taking a lot of time just to understand before talking. So the executive, very high level person, time is money. And so they're not supposed to talk to a lower level person. They're not supposed to talk to a younger, they're not supposed to talk to somebody outside the family or outside the company. And if you're talking to them for what requires a long time, it's not going to really work very well. Unless you do what? You need to, what's the politically correct way to make kiss ass? How do you kiss ass? You find out about the other person, what that other person likes, and get the other person to talk about it. So get them to talk about themselves if you're meeting executives. A lot of executives, especially in Samsung, they're very proud they have that high-level position. And they can talk for hours or days to the world about how I had this success, or the company is able to have this success because of this and this and this. They're bragging to the world. That type of story where you're getting them to do storytelling is usually a lot better than just asking them a lot of questions that the other person might not care about or understand or have time to even listen to. Is that clear, Pia?
Yes, thank you. We will change that in the future.
So the idea of the emotional ego, try to tap into that other person. How can you connect? You can either connect with research, you can connect with teaching something of value, you can connect because a family member requires they answer, because the family member is powerful to that other person, or you can tap into that other person's ego and make that person share stories. And so they can, that's a type of the in-depth case study interview where they'll talk on and on and on about details. Anyway, thank you very much for trying. I heard many good things from the executive that you've interviewed, and I give you good points because I didn't even give you the LinkedIn contacts, right? You just knew LinkedIn, you knew the name, you were able to search online, and you found it on yourself. So great. Everyone else should be able to do that type of thing the next time you're looking for a job or developing. Go ahead, Jumbo.
I was supposed to greet you.
What? Yeah. What was your question, Pia, since you were going first?
I know, I was just saying I was supposed to greet you from Mr. Nam.
You were supposed, I didn't hear that. You were supposed to
I was supposed to greet you.
say hello, okay? Yes?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, our group will present our survey results. Our topic, well, it's pretty sad because result is there is no results. It's pretty depressing, but we will try to present. Our survey plan was by targeting potential customers for hotel in South Korea through LinkedIn and Facebook or KakaoTalk in order to better understand user acceptance on artificial intelligence and gain insight into how hotel industry should adopt AI in their service in order to provide better customer service in hotel industry in South Korea. We shared our questionnaires through the Google documents, which is linked in the below. And we also wanted to contact Marriott Hotel in South Korea in order to find, we wanted to listen the reactions of using artificial intelligence in their hotels. So we thought that anyone could be tourist. We thought it'll be more wiser to search through the Facebook, Instagram instead of LinkedIn for finding the response from the tourist, because if we get answers from the LinkedIn instead of Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn is more like we felt like it is more professional place that they put their jobs and their personal informations, but it was a little bit hard to ask them because we're asked them as a tourist positions. So we thought it'll be easier to ask on the Facebook or an Instagram. So we went to the Facebook group named Korea Travel Guide and Korea Travel Advice, which has more than 2 million people inside the group. And we searched through the people within that map in the group. We shared the questionnaires by telling we are peoples who would like to work in the hotel management industries in the future. And it'll be very helpful that if you answer these questionnaires, it'll be very helpful for for working in the future, because We had to be a little bit honest because everyone can see my profiles in the Facebooks. So we shared a Google document over 35 people's, but sadly, none of them replied. I think it is because they don't have any connections with me in persons, or maybe they thought the questionnaire from the student is not that important. We're not sure really because as I said before during the PIA presentation, I did a survey in the middle of the downtown before in Korea. When I was doing that, well, people replied without any hesitations. It was pretty sad. And because we wanted to contact Marriott Hotel, we searched through their LinkedIn, and we could see a lot of people. However, maybe because I'm not used to using LinkedIn profile, we could not connect to everyone. Like the access was very limited, so we could only find few people who's working in South Korea as a managers. For example, Jang Gina, she was a Marriott Hotel front office manager, and we also contacted a general manager and HRD professionals working in Marriott Hotel. However, we tried to talk with them, but they did not reply. So it was pretty sad. And we have learned that managing LinkedIn profile is very important because before this class, I have not used LinkedIn at all, and I do not have any professional information in my LinkedIn profile. And we also learned that function network is very important because if we don't have any connections with anyone, it is also very hard to get the answers from random people. If we have any organizations, or if we belong to some peoples, it'll be much easier to get the answers. I think if I was a workers in Samsung, or if I was workers in a big company, it'll be much easier to get the answers. So that's what we have learned. It was pretty sad that we did not get any reply from anybody, but we have tried our best. But I think for the last presentations, for the last try, we were thinking about doing the survey through the exchange student in our university, because they can be also the tourist in South Korea. And we wanted to try for the last try. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. This is a learning experience. What are you supposed to do after you finish talking?
Yes, we wanted to listen, feedback or comments. Let's ask, first of all, from you, Uno. Could you comment anything or give us some feedback about our presentation, please?
You know, we're waiting to hear from you. We're waiting to hear from everybody in the class, actually. But you know,
Yes. Hello.
We can hear you. We're waiting for you to add value to our group.
Have you tried I have a question for the group. I would I would personally rate the presentation about 9 out of 10. So I would like to give some questions. Have you used other SNS like Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, something like that, to contact with these people, rather than just emails or
What he just saying,
LinkedIn?
that was his presentation. His presentation said he used Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. That was his main slide.
Yes. Your question was like whether we have used a Facebook or Instagram or Twitter in order to get the answers from the survey. This is our way to reach the people. We have found that Korea Travel Guide and Korea Travel Advice this is the Facebook group. Like this is the group like designed to share information to the tourist who's interested in traveling in South Korea. So we thought that if we do the survey, who's in this group, we thought that getting the response is pretty good. Pia wanted to ask something.
Yeah, what I didn't quite understand, in the group, were they like the travel agents, or did you ask the tourists?
People, there are managers in this group. So I believe that they are providing the information. So they are not tourists, but the people who's in that group, who is interested in getting the information from that group, they might be the tourist. So we ask them this survey.
Because then you probably have the same problem as us, that because tourists can't really gain anything from your survey because they are probably not interested in researching anything.
There is no give and take.
Like just the problem that we had too, that there's no value for them, I guess.
How can you make value? You are doing a research project for a Marriott hotel on how to make Marriott hotel better. Is that not correct?
Well, if I was able to reach Marriott hotel, maybe with a few more time, I can ask them, can you give us, would you like to provide some discount code for the people who's doing this survey?
Absolutely, very smart. That type of thing is how you're going to get a lot more results in Asia.
Yeah, that was my original plan. The one of the reasons why we reached the Marriott hotel, but we weren't able to reach them.
That idea of offering something of value is usually quite important everywhere in the world. Even in North America, if somebody's walking up to you taking a quick survey, usually there's a cameraman behind, and some people want their 5 minutes of fame. They want to just be on the camera. That's the lowest level. The higher level for something like this is stating, number one, you are of high value. You have many of the case studies about the company already. You have other more valuable Scopus type research articles, benchmarking reports also. And so by being able to provide this to the company in exchange for providing even better service, they should be able to provide a 5%, 10% discount for any customers that come in. They can give you a code, a research code to get this discount. That type of thing usually works quite well, especially with the hotels now where they're not as booked as they were before the coronavirus period. So yes, make sure you're thinking about what is the value. So can you tell what was the value? Ulubek, you're quiet so far today. What is the value you are giving anybody that you met for the survey? Ulubek, are you there?
I hope we can give some informations about future travel industry with AI, with asking some questions about AI.
Let's just be creative. Guess. Don't get facts yet. What would be one sentence that a customer would want to hear or value or appreciate hearing? So far, you just said, we will talk about AI. Well, customers might not understand what AI is at all. So how can you communicate in a way that it's not just what you understand? I understand what you're saying, you understand what you're saying, but your target customer may not. You must understand what the target customer understands. So when you're surveying an executive, what do they want? They want fame, they want value, or they want to be left alone to relax, maybe money. So what could you be doing? Anybody else in the class? Can you give a suggestion?
So from my opinion and also experience, so when I do the survey with the tourists or the consumers, so normally I offer them a gift, a small gift, or even money, not very much, but I put the money in the envelope. So it's kind of a gift to thank them, for helping, serving, and, answering the question for me. So I think that's an easy way. And maybe, the other souvenir, if you think that is, or for example, if you survey a tourist, so souvenir about the location, that's very good for them. So they're happy to do it for you.
Right. As students, I'm not expecting you to spend a lot of money for your class project. This is just practice. I'm very happy that Pia and Jungho, you now have seen that to be successful in the business world, you need to do things in a different way than regular students do. You need to have more research. And as Thuong was just saying, it also helps to actually give them literally a gift. In one of the biggest research projects that I had, we gave away sometimes more than $100,000. Sometimes we gave away over $1 million to just the people we were surveying. How? We had a grant. We were talking about the survey of world views. We were talking about the world view in many different countries. So anybody that did the survey, we gave them an international $20 gift certificate. All of that is not normally what you would give it as a student, but it is normal for North American students, European students using grants. If you understand how those grants work, that is why I was proposing you consider grants at the beginning of the semester. Getting $100,000, now you understand why it's so big. Sometimes it's more than $1 million, and you understand if you're surveying hotel customers, they're not going to talk to you unless you give them something. Is $5 enough for somebody to stop? Maybe not. Maybe you need to have at least minimum wage, that type of value for somebody to stop and talk to you. So a room discount at the hotel, or a free access to the hotel swimming pool or the weight room or something like that, or the hotel restaurant, those type of things basically cost the hotel almost nothing because you are doing marketing for them. That's one of the easiest things to do as a regular student without a grant. Otherwise, start checking into the grants, and more valuable than that, make sure you have something of value like a network or connection or your Scopus articles. Ulugbek, do you know from all of the research articles that you have, what is the most valuable thing that you've learned that you think the hotel staff or tourism and hotel people will like to know? That's the vital part of your project. How can you connect with somebody? What is something that you learned that makes you a specialist that other people will appreciate? Ulugbek, Jungo, both of you together. Every student doing any project in any class, you should know what is the value. How is that making you more of a specialist? If you are more of a specialist, what can you do for somebody else? If you can't do something more or better for somebody else, it's going to be very hard to get a job. You need to start promoting whatever it is you're learning for other people to see you're a specialist. So before week 14, practice developing that and practice networking. Anybody here connected to hotels? We have several people in our group. Nobody is connected to hotels?
Well, our group is connected to the hotel industry.
How? Like you're researching them, but I'm asking, what is your actual connection? Do you have family working in the hotels? Do you have family that owns part of a hotel? I own companies, and some of the companies that I have sold hotels. I have buyers trying to buy a Hyatt hotel in Vietnam right now. So those type of things could open doors for certain things. You know, try to always think, what is your connection? What is your value you're giving, not just to you, but to somebody else? And in Korea and Japan and China, that personal connection is usually best. That's, what's that called? That's the guangxi. You're getting somebody that you know connected to help raise you to a higher level. What's
For our group,
yes?
for our group, one of the good connection would be you, I guess.
A good connection would be me? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because you have owned the company, the hotel company.
But does a person on the street know that? Does the person in the hotel you go talk to, do they know that? So again, it's just like Scopus. You know Scopus is valuable. Maybe you know the name's Sean Watts. Maybe it's valuable, maybe it's not, but nobody else in the world, most people in the world don't know what Scopus means. So start finding something of value and make sure you can translate it into the words, the understanding that the other person is going to understand. So it's a great start. What can you guys do to change? Pia, can you give him some comments? Now that you have done a survey and you've learned from it, and Jungo has done a survey, he's learned from it. If school is finished, if you have your university degree, and now you want to get a job, how are you going to get that job? How are you going to walk up and show them you can help them? You have something of value. Whether you know it or not, you have probably been taught by your mom, your dad, your grandparents, old professors that get a degree, go to school, and then you're going to get a job, and they assume that's going to be for life. That is very quickly disappearing. The world is changing to a gig economy, a short gig, a short job, temporary jobs. If you develop yourself as a specialist in a very, very small area that other people can't do, it's easier for you to get jobs. Make sure you're starting to show other people you can do things that others can't. Scopus, that access to that, it is valuable, but other people don't know it. So it's not just find Scopus and say, here's a magazine. It's more than that. You need to say, this is a magazine from the world's most trusted, most respected, most reliable brainiac about this topic. And you must make sure they care about that topic. Any other ideas? Jungle, you remember Pia talked about surveying a guy named Boninam. We talked about him a little bit before. We went through his LinkedIn profile. Did you see part of his LinkedIn profile? Do you remember what things you could do to offer value to a guy like that?
I did not quite understand your questions. Like, did we see the Boninam's profile, a LinkedIn profile?
Yes.
Well, we thought that Boninam is not really related to our topic. So
Right. Now I'm talking to everybody in the class. How can everybody learn so that next month or next year, this class makes you more likely to have success? This survey that you did, what you write on the paper for me is not really that important. How you went and what you got for the survey results, it's not that important for my life or for your life. The idea of going and trying to connect with somebody in the parts of the world where relationships are almost vital shows you how that's important. So when you try to get a job after you graduate, how can you do the same thing? That's what I'm talking about. What can you do next time?
well, one of the good thing I believe is, well, I have learned I'm a student who graduated the Gaming University, and I especially taken the class.
The world doesn't care. Thank you. The world doesn't care. Sorry. Maybe
Yeah.
But if I'm a person you're trying to get a job from, if I'm a person you're trying to survey on the street, so far I would be rude. Don't waste my time. I'm busy. Can you try to rephrase, or do you want me just to listen to your story?
I don't think I got your point. No, I don't think I understood.
I heard you saying a lot of words. What's the polite way? I love you. You're great students, but I didn't get any value from those words. If I was an executive, I would say, sorry, I'm busy, and I'd walk away. If I was a customer you're trying to survey, all of those words, that first 10 seconds of words, I got no value. It's the same thing. Most people have been reprogrammed not to be polite anymore. 100 years ago, if you saw somebody on the street, they would talk to you. Nowadays, so many people are used to using the Instagram or online or whatever the online apps are, where they look at it for more than 2 seconds is rare. 3 seconds, 5 seconds looking at a YouTube cover video or title before you go to the next one, it's kind of rare. Seriously, how long do you spend when you have a list of 1 million YouTube videos? How long do you spend on each one? Probably less than 5 seconds. And that's the way everybody's brain has been programmed, especially in Korea and Japan with the high-tech internet connectivity society. So now, if you don't give them something of value, if you don't have a connection with them within that first 7 to 15 seconds, they're going to keep walking. So you are trying to talk to me now, even though I want to hear you, I want to help you, I don't hear the value you're giving. So what were you trying to say? Can you say it in a way that would get to the point within 7 to 15 seconds?
Well, I was taught by Sean Watts.
He sucks.
Well, I can't think of like a way to tell these people right now, but from a marketing perspective, what you said about these 5 seconds, I think you should get their not information, attention by saying either something shocking or something very new, or something of interest that catches their intention and wants them to learn more, I guess.
Right. So I might have just insulted Jung-ho, even though I love him, by cutting him off and saying, what's your point? You have no value. That whole idea, it is shocking. I'm sorry, it's not a great example, but what Pia just said is perfectly correct. You need to have value for sure. And the value could be money, and you could get money as a grant. Big companies are giving it away more and more nowadays. You can't have value with a relationship. You have to have relationships, lots of relationships, anywhere you are in the world, especially East Asia. Or you can't have value by just shocking themselves. Either you walk up to the person, either you walk up to the person and you show them you know who they are, you know they're famous, and you want them to share the fame, get them to promote how they're really good. Then some executives will do something like that if they're going to be on TV, if they're going to be on a newspaper story or a journal story. Taking the photos of them, that's good. Pia, did you try to take photos of anybody? Jung-ho, did you try to take photos of anybody or videos? Think about that. Sometimes people like it. The other thing is getting to share the stories, number one. As we're showing here, this is one of the executives in Samsung, one of Samsung's top executives. We see he works with this department. We see he works with Samsung. But if you go down through here, it says where he got his part of his education. But if you keep looking through it, highlights, activity, experience. So he worked here. He also worked at Apple. That's very interesting. And with the education, it says here the idea of Harvard. So again, that scopus value. If you get a lot of articles from Harvard Business Review that are new and helpful for what he's doing in his job, that alone, if you summarize it, should be a value. Pia, did you do that? Did you talk to him about Harvard Business Review articles you have for him?
I wanted to because you said so, but sadly we didn't have any Harvard Business Review in our scope of search.
So you know it's valuable. You know you've already paid for it with your tuition. You just didn't walk with that present to the meeting. Ouch.
Yes.
Jung-ho, same thing. If you're going to go meet the manager of a Marriott hotel, this type of thing. It's not the same with everybody, but try to find something about them you can connect with. Maybe that manager likes to go fishing and you can talk about fishing. Or tell him where is the best place to go fishing. Or if the guy likes to go golf, a very popular thing in Korea and Japan, you can talk about golf. I don't care if you like golf or not. That's not important. What is important is that target person you want to connect with, you need to connect with. And if they are connected with golf or fishing or Harvard, give them that opportunity to get the value they see. And after they're happy, then they can do a survey with you. If you don't give them something of value, why are they going to talk to you at all? Something shocking is the last resort. Saying something like, you're wasting my time, I admit, my communication style is not the best, but I hope you understand that type of thing is what makes popular people on YouTube and TikTok popular. There's the radio stars that just get popular talking about controversial things. So try to think of those things, like the Squid Games. Something like that. Any other questions from you guys? I'm talking too much. I would like you guys to talk, to practice getting that experience, especially in Korea or Japan, which is the focus of this week. Any other questions or comments? Did you guys get marks? I heard one person give UNO, you gave 9 out of 10. So let's start with UNO. What was that one other thing or two other things they could improve to get 10 out of 10? UNO, I'm talking to you again. UNO, I'm walking away. I can't give you too many.
Maybe maybe they could have more something like volleyball volleyball or something like information or something something like suggestion to the hotel that they can give.
Uludbek, do you understand that aspect?
Oh, not very well.
And why are you being so shy? For you to be more successful, you need to talk more. So ask UNO what he means. Clarify it.
Yeah.
Me?
Or not. We can't wait too long because the world is going to go to the next video. Next.
Yeah, we could understand. We couldn't really understand your questions, like your suggestion.
And you're speaking to the world, so you're talking to UNO, right? Everyone in our class is waiting for UNO to clarify suggestions for improvement. Same thing I'm going to be asking Jacobir and Yasser. Can you guys give comments for improvement the next time you go around?
Well, as he said, it was difficult for them to connect to the people that they targeted, and I don't think I can give them, like score, or I can't rate them because they did a good job, and I know that would be perfect if they got the results, but they didn't. And I don't know how to rate them, but they did a great job doing the research and doing the collecting data for research.
Let me interrupt. So you're saying good job, good job, good job. So you're not telling them how to do better. I'll bet a beer or coffee to Pia, when Pia talked to the Samsung executives, I bet they told you suggestions for next time you do something, how to do it better. Is that right, Pia?
Yes. They said we should have more value. We should get the executive out of their daily routine, not just by sending messages via mail, but connecting with them more so they can share their experience freely.
Right. The high-level people, high-level executives, increasingly everywhere in the world, they need to be able to come up with decisions quickly and provide information to other people quite quickly, especially in East Asia. In East Asia, the higher you are in society, the more you are expected to have an answer. If you don't have an answer to help somebody else develop, you are not going to be climbing that ladder towards success in East Asia. So you should be able to answer any questions quickly with something of value. And so when you talk to these executives, make sure you give something of value. In class, use me as practice. Use your classmates as practice. When they're talking, when they're finished, provide something of value. Pretend to be a manager. Pretend to know everything, because managers in Korea are supposed to be aware of all details if provided with a question with staff, especially in Japan. So if your staff give a presentation, how can you make it better? Dekavir, how could the presentations today be made better? Pia just came up with some. Can you give some? Or not? Anybody? Anybody in the class? And I'm going to have to start picking somebody out. Moon, looks like you speak.
Well, I think for our presentation, if we had a result, if we start our presentation with the shocking short sentences like people don't use AI robots in hotel, for example, like that. If we start presentation like this, if we have a result, it'll be pretty interesting for the listeners. So I think that will be one of the ways to make our presentation more interesting.
Okay, when you're talking about using robots, Marriott is using the robot by surveying every possible customer and anybody in the world using Google, things like that, using the big data, finding what people like, and giving possible selections to whoever they're interacting with, right? Every possible thought and record of hotel and sleeps or vacation is recorded in big data. Like the hotel has this giant sheet of possible things people like or possible things people don't like. And the robot searches for the person talking to me. He uses this keyword and then he checks through that list and he links that. Okay, well, there's the other side of AI. There's other AI that just compares this hotel to the other hotel. Which one's cheaper? That type of information, a lot of people on the street don't know which one is best. They don't know how to find the best deal. Maybe you can start with those type of things. As long as you are providing something of value to the people you're talking to, that's good. That generally costs nothing. It's just a little bit of time with the research. By adding value to it, saying you're the best executive, you're what everybody in the country dreams of having this type of job, you know, wow, you must be so happy. What was the best part of the job this year? Something like that. You don't even know anything about them. You're just getting them to say good things to make them feel more good. And once you listen to what they're really excited about, maybe you can get them talking more about that other thing. So those are parts of the thing. It's part of developing the guangxi. What about the fact that you're not allowed going into this hotel without wearing high heel shoes? Dong, Pia, how would you like that? You're not for Mitsui or many of the Japanese hotel companies unless you're wearing high heels.
So you mean that the people going to the hotel, they need to wear the high heel or not high heels too?
Any comments from you?
Yeah, I feel
I'm
bad
so
about it. Oh, maybe you want to go first.
So for my experience when we go to visit the people at the hotel, so we try to keep, quiet, not making, the noise. So properly not wearing the high heel shoes is better. And properly we should have, the meeting planned beforehand. And if you guys can have the introduction or the letter introduction from.
You're describing followers or students, not the people that are rising in society. The people that are rising in society, usually they make themselves known. The famous people are famous because people see them and hear them. And if you say you're not supposed to make any sound, that's the opposite. That's number one. Number two, what I was talking about was a law in Japan. Women working for companies are supposed to wear high heels. That was a law. And what I'm saying is that is something that's very controversial. Japan is changing that slowly, but most of the world would attack that. That should be the same thing as Black Lives Matter. You're torturing, you're making women slaves to high heel shoes. That type of thing should be controversial enough to get people talking to you. Check it out on the internet. You know, these are things that can connect you with others.
Yeah. So maybe I don't know this one. So I thought that normally need to not wearing the high heel shoes. So, but if there's a law, so probably I must follow that.
Yes, the other thing that I was going to talk to you guys about, you guys are aware. What are some of the other things? Since we're focused, we only have a couple of minutes left talking about Japan and Korea, similarities between them. There is, for both, more focus on extrinsic factors, job security. People used to want to work for Toyota. They used to want to work for Hyundai and Samsung because they thought it was a lifelong job. Nowadays, that has changed. What is the most attractive job in Korea right now? Government jobs. Why? Because almost everybody knows government jobs don't pay very well. Samsung corporate jobs usually pay much more and a lot more benefits, but the government jobs have generally much longer job security. It's very hard to get fired from a government job. And it's showing that a lot of workers are taking these, even though they don't like the government, they want that job security. So just start being aware of these characteristics in Japan, in Korea, and China, and how you are aware that if you are a specialist in something, you could be the job, you could be a company, you can be a consultant. Start promoting that. Now, next, that whole idea of wage, intrinsic factors, it creates some things, that idea that in both countries, women are usually paid less than men. That type of thing is quite shocking. Walking up to the companies, talking about these type of things, talking about how you have the solutions for some of those things. What is the solution? Iceland. Iceland's policy was the world's fastest country to change from male-dominated to female, almost dominated or equivalent anywhere in the world. So that they're good at informal communication. What they mean by that is you're supposed to only communicate details about problems when we're drunk together out at a bar. What is the alternative? Relationships. A lot of people say you're supposed to, in China, Korea, Japan, it helps to be able to drink a lot. And it's true, it does help to be able to drink a lot. Some companies will give you promotions if you show up to work drunk many times because you're drinking with the competitors. However, what is better than just drinking with the other company? Knowing the other company's executives' children's names and birthdays. Knowing their relationships very well. If you know those types of things, then you can get a lot more results. Whether it's survey information or job opportunities or going on to your next step for your goals. Anyway, I believe class is, I think class is supposed to be up now, isn't it?
Yes, so we can wrap up our class now. So some students are going to go to another class.
Pia, Jungho, since you guys led most of the class, Ulugh, Yuno, Yasser, any other questions before we stop? Please check online the class details. There are several research articles talking about Japan. So the next several weeks, I'd like you guys to start sharing valuable research articles that you might be able to sell that information to the world or use that to be more of a specialist. Since we're focused on Japan, this week 9 folder, if you check into the East Asian Management week 9, there's a lot of extra articles related to Japan. Japan negotiating, Japan's cultural values, Japan's management values, how it compares to other countries. Start finding these articles and get ready to share that with the rest of the class as we're moving forward in the next couple of weeks. Okay? Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Interesting.
Bye bye.